Hey, well, we're recording.
Yeah, fired up for today's interview.
Fired up. Bill, welcome, sir. It's good to see you.
You. Yeah, good to
Um,
see you too, Stu.
yeah,
And
so
nice to meet David for the first
Yeah, it's
time,
finally
I
to
think, right?
see you face to face. Yeah, and Stu had started out by giving some ground rules, and I think he messed up a little bit. So what he meant to say is Stu and I do like to make fun of each other, but most of our guests like to make fun of Stu because the target is so easy. So that we just want to
Okay.
make sure that we set that up
So we get
front,
the
and it's
team
fun.
up on Stu. Is that
Yeah,
okay? Is that
hey,
fair
because
game?
I mean,
let's
but it's
just
easy though.
we're gonna cut this and we're gonna start
Hmm.
over and we're gonna go now. Hey guys, everybody, this is Stu and this is David and this is filling in the
Hey,
Storehouse podcast. We have an amazing guest today, Bill Militello. Bill, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you
Good.
guys?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
awesome.
We're probably not going to cut any of that stuff out because I don't know how to cut any of that stuff out. So we're just going to flow with it.
Me
Uh,
neither. Let's just roll with it.
let's just roll. Let's just roll. Well, Bill and I have talked a couple times, and Bill is a fellow Naval Academy graduate, and
Reggie.
Yeah.
And what year did you graduate?
Engineers don't know how to talk too well, right?
Yeah. What year did you graduate from the fine esteemed academy?
Yes, from the boat school. I'm a 92 graduate of the boat school, the
92.
last century.
Okay. All right. Well,
Nice.
we're '02 grads, so you're just a little bit more senior to us. No
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
We won't make fun of your age on here, I promise.
That's okay. Yeah, you can see the temples are white at this point.
Well,
Yeah,
today David is
you know what
outnumbered.
color. At least you
Yeah.
know what color your hair is. I don't even know. I have no clue. Don't even know if I'm going gray or not.
I
Well,
don't think
Bill,
so.
tell our listeners kind of just a little bit more about who you are and what you do, and then we'll kind of just get into a fun conversation.
Yeah, sure. So I guess the best way to describe me from a business perspective is really just a serial entrepreneur, primarily in financial services. So as you said, I graduated from the Naval Academy in 1992, 5 years in the Marine Corps, left as a captain in '03. My last tour of duty was at NSA Business School, then to Wall Street. 9/11 happened, and then that ended my Wall Street career. Spent about 2 years working as a consultant for the Securities and Exchange Commission, and then with the hope of going back to Wall Street, but that never happened. And hung out a shingle as an entrepreneur as my first business, and started as a financial advisor. And then the rest is history from there. All in financial services and some fintech. So that's the 30,000-foot view.
Yeah, there's a lot more there, I know, and I know there's a lot of successes and lessons learned in there. Well, what's your focus primarily
And
now?
a lot of scars and a lot of bruises and broken bones and beat downs. But what's my focus now? So I'm going to say, for someone who's self-diagnosed ADHD, I have foci.
Nice.
It's the first time I ever put it that way.
I love
Yeah.
it.
So I guess my focus is an ecosystem, and I'll tell you about the three components of that ecosystem, which all kind of support each other, but also all scratch an itch that I have as an entrepreneur and want to give back. And so I'll start with 10x Vets, and 10x Vets is the most recent venture, and that is we'll call it a mastermind, and I run a component of 10x Vets called the Capital Circle, and my goal there is to work with veterans who have capital raising and syndication as a primary part of their business, their job, and really try to pour into them everything that I've learned about raising private capital over the last 20 years and learn from them as well, right? So that as a group, as a circle of trusted peers, that we can raise the conversation from like a 101 level, to a 401 level, to use the sort of college curriculum example, and then hopefully over time, grow trust and in each other's capabilities and help each other out by bringing resources today to the table, contacts, expertise, and potentially even capital to get deals done. So that's my goal with 10X Vets. I think it's will be a great source of deal flow in Militello Capital. So Militello Capital is the company that's an offshoot of one of my other financial services companies. So a four-time entrepreneur, started 4 companies, have sold 2. And so Militello Capital, I call more like a joint venture private equity business, primarily in commercial real estate. We've done some venture, but primarily in commercial real estate, where we partner with the operator. We're not an operator of buildings or properties ourselves, but we're gas in the tank. And so we come in for a portion, typically a significant portion of the capital to get the equity to get the deal done, and we'll invest from our balance sheet. And so to communicate our confidence in the project, and then subsequently we'll syndicate it out. And then the third part of that ecosystem is LocalVest. It's our fintech solution. We built it internally to Militello Capital 5 years ago. We we kind of had this sort of AWS moment where Amazon had built Amazon Web Services, and like, hey, gee, we could sell this. We could give this to other people. And so we did. We spun it out as LocalVest, as its own entity, and that's really where investors and private issuers can meet to evaluate private investments. And it's also the distribution. It serves as our distribution channel for when we syndicate deals. So that's really the whole thing, where I spend my day.
Yeah, obviously serial entrepreneur, self-diagnosed ADHD and really driving a lot of those ventures. But there's something that is consistent through. You've been on the SABM now a number of times, 3, 4, 5 times now. A number of them, and I've listened to quite a few of your interviews and when you presented in the Veterans Live. One thing that resonates with me, though, that you have a passion for vets. You have a passion for enabling them to also join you along this ride, and the mindset piece of that. If you could talk a little bit about that. And actually, before you do that, though, I have to ask you this question. I give you credit for this quote all the time, and tell me if you remember it. I believe it was, I don't know where I heard it, but did you say the most patriotic thing you could do is serve, and the second most patriotic thing you could do is create jobs?
Yeah, it was something along those lines. I always believe that the most patriotic thing you could do outside of serving in uniform is to create jobs, right?
Yeah.
Because, the business of the United States is business. And, what enables a strong military is a strong economy. And what enables a strong economy is job creation and people continuing having the ability to improve their lives in this free enterprise system that we have. So whatever you can do to enable job creation in the United States is a very patriotic venture.
Yeah, I love that quote. And that wherever I heard it, it was probably a year or so ago. It stuck with me from the moment I heard it, and it's been something that I've been going back to over and over again because I love it. So you're an influencer by nature. But back to the original, what drives that passion? I mean, it seems like you so willingly give of yourself and your time, which is valuable time. I mean, you talk to Stu, he tells me about some of the conversations you guys have had, And it seems like
That
this.
schmuck Stu.
Who is that guy, Stu?
Who's that guy? I don't even know that guy.
Great
But
guy.
and I know it's probably frustrating for you to spend that much time with Stu. But outside of that, tell me about that passion. It really resonates with me.
Well, first of all, thank you. I don't know where it comes from. I can take a guess. I will say that, people talk about transition. There's a lot more programs nowadays than there used to be. I got out of the military in 1997, kind of in between wars, right? Well after the first Gulf War, several years before 9/11, and the war on terrorism. And so while there's a lot more that's going on today, and a lot more needed, by the way, to help transition veterans from active service into civilian life and corporate America, if you will. My transition was like a 1-hour exit conference and a kick in the butt, right? So my wife called our transition from military to civilian life the flaming reentry, right? So we were in orbit, and then we were no longer in orbit, right? And so we were burning hot coming in through the atmosphere, and it was painful, and it was painful as hell. Certainly not nearly as painful as these brave men and women coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan after several tours, and what they're dealing with. Not even close to that. But it was painful nonetheless, right? No support system, no transition. Kind of, you're wearing a badge and a uniform one day, and the next day you weren't. And so, I'm empathetic to veterans, and it's temporary. You're not always going to be wearing the uniform. You're going to have to, for the most part, and people are going to have to go and get a gig going, and I want to make sure that they have all the resources that, quite frankly, I didn't have. So I guess that's because I know the pain I felt, and I don't want, if they could learn even one little tidbit and takeaway nugget from it that would save them some pain, then my time with them is well worth it.
Yeah, no, and I want to thank you for that, because you truly are an influencer and very generous with your time and the resources that you give to vets, and so I for one am extremely grateful and intend to completely leverage you as we transition out of the military as well.
I'm here.
That's right.
I'm here.
That's
Thank
right.
You. Very kind of you.
Yeah, we have 2 years, Bill, and then we're out. So
then that's it, huh? Counting the days, short timer.
Well, I want to also kind of hit on something that you talked about at the Veterans Live Conference with this investment company that you have with Militello Capital and LocalVest, and you're only working with military, you're only working with veterans, right? And you are only providing capital to military veterans that are in the space. And you talked about it on the Veterans Live Conference, but tell our listeners, everyone that wasn't there, like why? What's the reason behind?
Well, I didn't always, right? I didn't always. When I got out of the military and I did I was looking for a job, looking for the job, and I, certainly nothing against the defense contractors and the Beltway bandits, certainly went there, and I was like, I don't know, this isn't for me. And even though it was a natural shoe-in, I had the green badge and had all this other stuff. So, but really, I really moved away from the military community, pretty far away from the military community, and really didn't engage for a long time. And so I wasn't around, my colleagues and my classmates and other veterans for a very, very long time. And I kind of paid the price for that. I paid the price with the assumption that people conducted themselves with honor and integrity, and that their word was their bond. And out in the real world, it just doesn't work like that. And so, that was painful lesson to learn again and again and again. And eventually you had enough, right? And I had this epiphany a couple of years ago that just said, I wish I had this. I looked at deals that didn't go well, right? I think I talked about this, but I looked at deals that didn't go well, and I said, gosh, let's tear these diligence folders apart. Let's look at what we missed. Why didn't they go well? And the answer was, we didn't miss anything. Well, no, that didn't sit well with me at all. We, of course, missed something. And the thing that was missing was it all came down to a leadership failure on the part of the person or team that we invested in. And the failure came from, a failure of integrity or a failure of grit and determination. And I said, gosh, is there a way that we can screen for this ahead of time? Because our diligence seems to be pretty good, except for identifying these characteristics. And sure, we can. You know who has those qualities? Veterans have those qualities. Now, not veterans don't get a pass just because they're a veteran, but you have a much higher likelihood of dealing with someone with integrity and intelligence and grit than investing with somebody else.
Well,
that's why,
and that's a beautiful answer. And I've wondered too, do you make concessions on the toughness and the intelligence part? Because if we're gonna help Stu out, like we got to make sure that there's some.
This is like make fun of Stu podcast day.
Yeah, we do great on a curve. We do great on a curve, right?
But I'm in. No, yeah, and I think that the diligence that you put behind that, and then the actionable steps that you took, not only to get to that point, but what you concluded is really cool. And I think one of the things that we found, and Stu and I naturally, like, as much as we tease each other, it's all out of love, right? It's a brotherly love. There's a kindred spirit. There's something that would not exist if we did not go to the Naval Academy together and do this thing, have this similar life. So I think there's a ton to that, and it's awesome to see. It's awesome to see. And the fact that you elevated those things, that's one of the things we're talking with a lot of folks that are calling us about wanting to do business, is they're focusing on that aspect of it. And it's really intriguing. It's because the deals are the numbers you can find in a lot of places, but it's the partnership and the people and the intentionality of seeking that out that I think is so important. And so I think highlighting that is incredible.
Yeah. In real estate, I mean, real estate specifically, David and I have been doing real estate for a long time, individually. And then we built our company, Storehouse 310 Ventures, like 2 years ago. And, I mean, for the longest time, it was just the actual deal, like the real estate, right? Like the numbers. And over these last 2 years, as we've grown and we've kind of created these relationships and we've, had all these conversations with people, what I've truly discovered, and it's not just the real estate. It's not just the numbers. It really is the people. And, it's the team. It's creating that like group team mentality, and everyone on that team has to have the same core values. They have to have that same honesty, that same integrity, and do what's right every time, regardless, no matter how that bottom line falls out.
Yeah.
And the deal is going to work out. There might be some base hits, there might be some home runs, there might be some strikeouts, but I think in the end, it truly is. This is a people business. Like it's not just numbers and real estate based. And I think we have found success, such a greater success in these last 2 years than he and I have done individually for the last, 15.
And a sense of fulfillment too, right?
100%.
Investors can find returns anywhere. Whether they're believable returns or not,
Yeah.
that's another story. But investors can find similar returns just about anywhere. But can they find those returns with you know with people of integrity? And by no means do veterans or service academy grads own the market on integrity. They do not. There's certainly plenty of people out there that possess those values, but I think you're much more assured of that. And so I'd just rather just take that risk off the table, quite frankly. And also, now that I'm in a position to influence the direction of capital and where it goes, I know how tough it was for me to get started, and so if returns, all else being equal, I'd rather see the capital flow to a veteran-led real estate project than not.
Yeah, and I think there's one other point that you made that I want to highlight, and for all of our listeners out there, the network that you inherently have by being a service member, whether it's academy or just service specific or whatever it is. I think you made a great point, and a lot of us forget that network as we transition out, and we're looking at so I want to be a real estate guy, so I start looking at these real estate specific things. I'm going on bigger pockets. As we've started to tap into our network, it is amazing. When you talk about abundance mindset, to not only the people that you're surrounded by and the quality folks that you highlighted, but there's a ton of money out there, and there's a ton of people doing incredible things. And that money, the way that we look at it, enables greater possibilities across the board. It offers them possibilities. It offers us the ability to build our business and give them returns. It offers opportunities for other service members to buy houses and cash flowing properties. And so that network, 95%, 99% potentially of our lenders and our buyers are all military. They're all vets, which is amazing. And what a great niche to be a part of. So I just want to,
there's only 20 million of us. Yeah,
right.
Maybe 30 million if you include military spouses, so it's a country, it's got a GDP, for goodness sake, right? So capital money is infinite, right? You look at it from that perspective, you look at it from a number of different perspectives. It's more difficult to think in a limited way than it is from an abundant way, because no matter how you slice it, just money is everywhere, and it's infinite, really.
Yeah.
Let's talk about just that, the abundant mindset. And you and I have talked about some vision boards, and right before this call you started talking about your mind movie. Which
it's just a
sounds
digital,
awesome.
It's a digital vision board. That's all. Which set the music.
So why a vision board? Why a mind movie? Like does it help? What do you think?
Does it help? I think it does. Experts will tell you it does. I think it's a great reminder of what's important to you. I think it's a great exercise in even creating it to choose what's important to you, right? Because you've got to actually put something in that movie, or you got to cut something out and put it on your board, right? So there's a lot of choices, and it's infinite choices, and you've got to discriminate and say, hey, I want this, not these other things. So I think it's very clarifying to, of the world of possibilities, to choose this, that, these specific things. And then, having it, you have it on your wall, I've got mine on my iPhone, and, it's a constant reminder of what's important to you. And you tend to drive towards those goals. I think at the surface level, that's incredibly valuable. On a deeper level, you're you're programming your subconscious mind, right? And so, you see these things and they become, and there's an assumption that, they're real, they're true to you, they're believable. Maybe at first it looks very aspirational, but as it becomes more and more familiar to you, oh, it's just my vision board on my wall. Yeah. And so, yes, those things are kind of like, yeah, oh, by the way. And when you believe it, right, then you've literally changed your belief system. And you change your belief system, and things happen. Magical things happen when you change your belief system, right? So I think it's enormously important.
Yeah. What's that like, the red car syndrome? Like if you start wanting to buy a red car, then you start seeing red cars everywhere, kind of deal.
Sure.
David just bought a minivan. David, were you seeing minivans everywhere you went?
I wish I saw more minivans. They're awesome. I'm a huge fan.
They're very comfortable. I'll tell you, having been a minivan owner at one point, the passenger seat, especially for tall men, is very comfortable. And I think ours had 17 cup holders, so that was a plus.
Hey, always need a cup holder.
The only time it's going to be awkward is when all my kids are gone and I'm still buying minivans, because that's how much I think they're awesome. Hey, Bill, one thing, and I just want to commend you. You're an influencer. You're absolutely an influencer, whether you say something that impacts someone's life, like, the quote that I am constantly is just a refrain that I'm always running through, or Stu, every time he talks to you, man, he calls me and I'm like, man, why don't you invite me on the call? Because he's always pumped up. He's like, dude, I talked to Bill and he told me all this stuff about, and I'm like, bro, like, what? That's why I make fun of him, because he talks to people like you.
Oh, party
and then
lines,
after the fact,
dude. Come on, more the merrier, man.
I'm gonna keep all that in.
Oh, it's so painful, but he is absolutely excited every time you guys talk, and I'm not just blowing smoke. That's 100% truth. And then listening to your recent interview with Scott on SABM, you have influenced it. It is evident through the interview, and every time you guys talk, that you've been a huge influence on his life. And I'm just kind of curious, is that part of your why? Is that it seems very intentional, or is that just your superpower skill? Or is that something
my superpower?
Because we talk about, like, that's what we talk about all the time, is being intentional and some mindset.
Yeah, sure. Gosh, I wish I was more intentional, honestly. I think it does come back to something I said earlier. Just I've always had a strong desire to help. It was my desire to serve. Hence the military service. I think probably very similar to all of us. I'm not. I remember that one of the first conversations with Scott, and I remember he was trying to figure some stuff out, and he was making some pretty significant changes in his life. He was contemplating, and I had been through some very similar circumstances, so I kind of I saw the steps that were ahead of him, and the decisions and things like that, and I've been heavy-handed in the past, where I'm like, well, you need to do this and this and this and this, and usually people run away when you tell them to do anything, right? And I just said, hey, man, I hear you. I may have had similar experiences, and if you ever find yourself in my area of the country, Northern Virginia, stop by. We'll put a pot of coffee on. We'll go into the conference room and whiteboard out whatever it is that you want to talk about. And lo and behold, I think a couple weeks later, he called me. He's like, "How's Tuesday?" I was like,
"That's awesome.
Who's this again?" No, I'm just kidding. No, it's like, "Hey, remember that pot of coffee offer in the conference room and whiteboard some stuff?" And I said,
David will be over there next Tuesday.
I was going to say,
the offer stands for anybody listening, honestly, and it's, let's, if I can be a sounding board and we can just sort of, map out some things. And I still have the notebook because I learned stuff from it too, right? Because everybody brings an expertise, a unique ability, a superpower, to your point, to the table. Everybody's got a superpower. And yeah, we just had a grand old time. We talked for hours, and I didn't hear from for a while. And then next thing I knew, he was, in Charleston, South Carolina, and moved his family and was off to the races. So it was a lot of fun.
That's
he's
cool.
He's a great guy. And
yeah.
So,
and he took action. So kudos to him too, right? You made the offer.
yeah.
And I'll be taking you up on it. I'm in Annapolis, so I'll be.
Oh, awesome! Come on over, or heck, I'm gonna come see you. You put on the pot of coffee. We'll go grab some crabs.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, and so that's great. Yeah, can't say enough great things about Scott. And then specifically, as you said about taking action, I can't tell you how many times I've made that offer to other people, and hey, can I pick your brain for 30 minutes or whatever? And certainly I've done that many times. And then I never hear from the people again, or they kind of want to argue with me. And I was like, hey man, you asked me a question. I'm just going to answer it honestly.
I'm just trying to help.
I'm like, it's just an opinion. And if it can help you, great. If it doesn't, then, hey, I apologize. And that's it. But, you really want to help and give of yourself for people who actually do something with the information. Because I was like I said, in a very similar situation. And I saw the future, right? Because I lived it. It was the past for me. It was his future. And so, but he took it and he ran with it. And I was like, you know what? That was time well spent. He avoided some pain, and that was my goal.
That's really cool.
So speaking of goals and speaking about, vision boards and, creating this network, what are some of your goals? What are some of your big goals?
Gosh,
and kind of how you getting there?
How am I getting there? Some of my goals, that's a great question. So I'll tell you, from a business perspective, my goal is what we've been talking about. I've spent over 20 years syndicating private investments, with no big brand sign behind me, no national firm behind me, and how to do that, and all the compliance and legal and deal structure and all that stuff. And I know that, capital is, so very important to, real estate operators and other people who are trying to raise money. And if I can transfer that knowledge to, a couple of dozen veterans over the next couple of years, I would just be tickled pink to be able to do that, and save them 20 years of pitfalls and heartaches and and mistakes, very painful mistakes. So if I can condense that and download it and upload it to to veterans, it would be that's one of my goals. My other goal, which is to spend 10 times more time with my kids and my family. I did a horrible job of that. And thank God I'm married to the woman I'm married to, because she kept it together when I was out hunting, right? And I just I was not present, and kind of very similar to probably a deployed service member, right? You count on the spouse to to be the mom and the dad. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the spouse. It's not fair, to the kids. And so for me, I've got I've got precious little time left with my 15-year-old, right? And my 14-year-old and my almost 11-year-old, and to impart upon them before they go off into the world. So I've got precious little time to shape them into being, good people. And so that's what I want to do.
Yeah, really appreciate you being so candid about that. That's something that Stu and I, one of our great passions with the business that we're building and why we chose, we often get asked, why aren't you guys just keeping all these properties for yourselves? And really by selling them and offering them as turnkeys, it's really enabled a number of people that we won't even know the true influence, but to start on a path of financial independence. And it's because we both want exactly what you just said. We wanted to create a way for ourselves to have an income that enables the freedom to hang out with our families. Because being military guys, 20 years of military service almost, there's been a lot of time we spent away. And I just really appreciate you being so candid. And because I think that the truth in that really drives and motivates, and again, goes back to that influence, people to reassess their why. And it's just not all about money, right? It's not all about that bottom line. It's about how you can effectively transfer that into your why. And so I really appreciate you sharing that.
Thanks. And it's, had you asked me that question 10 years ago or something, it would be like, I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to have, 20,000 apartment units and, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, and I've met, billionaires, right? And, know a few. I ask them, how much you pay for that car? Oh, I paid $100,000 for that car, $150,000. If I were to buy that car, how much would it have cost me? Well, $100,000. Like, okay. And that steak or that really great meal in that really good restaurant, how much did that cost? Oh, $200. Okay. How much would that have cost me? $200. Okay. So, at what point is enough, right? It's if at a certain level I can have all the things, 99.9% of the same things, and the best healthcare in the world, and the best food, and the best clothing, and the best housing, and the best trips, and the best education for my kids. At a certain point, I can have 99.99% of the same things as Jeff Bezos. Then to what end do you spend your time doing that, above that, accumulating above that?
Yeah, that's a great point.
If your relationships are going to suffer as a result, to what end? Now, I'm a capitalist, man, right? I believe in free enterprise. And, nobody's ever going to change my mind that, Adam Smith was prophetic, right? But there is a point of diminishing returns, and you just got to, find out what that point is for you.
So the good thing for me is the max car I want is a minivan. So I'm good to go on the
done.
car. Right?
That's it, man.
Done.
You're settled. Right?
I reached my goal.
You're done.
Minivan.
Right. So now
Sorry,
you got to
Stu.
set some other goals.
There you go.
I love our minivan. It is awesome. Yeah,
it's awesome.
He ran. I feel bad for the family that bought it, because there might still be some McDonald's French fries,
underneath way in the corner.
But like, hey, some dried milk and maybe a couple old sippy cups under the seat.
Yeah.
So, but it was,
that's
it
rich.
was great while it lasted.
That's rich. Sorry,
Bill,
Steve, you were saying something.
No, I mean, so how do you balance that? The question is, we're in this like grit and hustle mode of like trying to get there and create that final financial freedom number for us, and so we can have that time, with our families. And we have younger kids. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I want to be home with my kids and take them to school and go to
Yeah.
plays and ballet and baseball and all that stuff. But there is still some like hustle to that. And there is still like, you got to put in the time. You got to put in the time to create that business. So
put in time. You got.
What's the line? Like, how do you balance that?
Man, I got to tell you. That's a great question. It's a great question. If I can turn the clock back 10 years and be you, I'd fill it up first with the most important things in my life, the things you just talked about.
That's great.
Okay. And a happy, fulfilled person is, you're an irresistible magnet for money. Okay. An unhappy person, an unfulfilled person repels money. Okay. So
that is awesome.
So fill your cup up, right? Fill your cup up. Go to the ballet recital. Don't miss that.
Well, to be fair, he's talking about his ballet.
Right? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I want to see pictures of you.
Hey, man, Herschel Walker was a ballet dancer too.
He was. Right? Yeah, he was.
Yeah. But, do that stuff. And yeah, if, the day doesn't end at 5 p.m. I mean, yeah, there'll be nights you're going to be on the computer till, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night or whatever. Sometimes you'll burn the midnight oil. It is what it is. It doesn't mean you need to do it every night, but, it's not going to happen overnight, but someone said people overestimate what they can achieve in a year, but underestimate what they can achieve in a decade. And so do something every day, or do 2 things every day towards, your financial independence. Quite frankly, tomorrow we could all get hit by a bus, right? So, will your kids have remembered, that you were behind the computer trying to create wealth for them? Or are they going to remember that you were at their recital or at their Little League practice? So, it is balance. And again, there's an amazing thing of like compounding interest and, of a business that you work on and you put energy to every day, or at least, several days a week. It's just going to get bigger, right? It's going to get bigger on its own, and it's going to compound, and you'll get there. You just may not even remember. It won't be like a day on the calendar. It'll be like you just kind of noticing one day and looking back and going, dang, we're like far beyond where I expected us to be. You're like, yeah. And that'll happen. You'll have that day.
I love that mindset, Bill. That was that like gave me chills thinking about, what you said. I think it's awesome what you said about a fulfilled person is a magnet for money. And I don't think people necessarily think of it that way, right? But it really, when you think about the people you want to invest in and give to and hang out with and talk with and spend time, they're the people that bring joy. They're the positive people. They're the people that'll give you something, fill your bank a little bit, and make you feel good about giving them money and investing in them. Because I think, that's an amazing point. And I also think it's very intentional. I think it's an action item that everybody can take, that as you're sitting there and you're watching the news and you're negative, like turn that stuff off, get something positive, go have a conversation, tell someone you love them, do something positive, and good things are bound to happen, right? And it's not just wearing rose-colored glasses and unicorns and fairies everywhere. It's true, actionable things that people want to be a part of. And I love that.
Well said. And so it's, you're talking about joy. You talk about, hey, go hug your kids and your wife and tell them you love them. And it's, it's about, vibrating at that high level of that high frequency, right? And so, Stu, on your LinkedIn, you're like, hey, tell us about a book that you like. And I said, yeah, one of my one of my favorite books was How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Bettger. It's an old book, but it's, you know, it's timeless. And one of the first things that he talks about is enthusiasm. And I think that anybody who's looking to raise capital or to improve their business by, you know, selling more, you know, there's really only two things you really need to know besides your product, right? You need to know your product, but you just really only two things. And one is enthusiasm, right? Just like, hey, get excited, man, right? If you're not excited, then they sure as hell are not going to be excited. So get excited, but be transparent. And so, hey, you know, I'm excited about this, but this may not be for you. On the other hand, you may find it to be of tremendous value. So you can balance your enthusiasm with being transparent. In other words, have integrity. And that's it. And then they're going to make their decision. And as I said, you know, in other conversations, right, that, you know, I've never sold anybody anything. You know, I've only put things in front of them that, you know, they were already going to buy. So, but yeah, just getting back to that high level of vibration is just, you know, be enthusiastic about what you're doing. And quite frankly, and if you're not, you just got to keep on moving on until you find something that you're enthusiastic about. And quite frankly, and this is not like a life coaching session for anybody, but if people listening go, well, I'm just not enthusiastic about anything. I'm like, well, then fake it. Right? I'm like, pick one thing and just pretend, right?
Until you make
and eventually you will be, but you know, you just got to get yourself out of your funk, right? But you got to be enthusiastic about it, or else, you know, you've missed the joy of life, and nobody wants to be around
you. Yeah, that's so true.
There's that too.
There's that. Then there's no friends.
That's rich.
Good stuff. Well,
Yeah.
we're kind of approaching the hour mark. Can we just like reschedule and do another one in the future so we can have more life lessons for us? Just you know, the two of us.
Life lessons, yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, man. We'll get together.
David, I'll include you this time.
Bill, come on, Bill.
We'll do it in Annapolis next time.
Yeah. I like
Yeah,
it.
it'll be only 2 screens though, Stu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I have to get myself there.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We're just gonna have we'll do a 1 wide angle screen and then you.
All right. Dang it.
And for anybody listening, I was given direction to give Stu a hard time on this call. So
yeah, right.
I'm not saying.
David, did you call Bill like ahead of time on your drive home?
I told you it was gonna be easy.
He's feeding me texts right now of like stuff like zingers.
Bill, say this.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
we got to stop this before I get made fun of more.
No, you're the
Listen,
best.
guys, this was fantastic. I truly am grateful. I truly appreciate the opportunity to talk to your audience, to, you know, share with you guys. I wish you the greatest success in business, and completing your military careers is a significant accomplishment. I stopped after 5 years, so, you know, my hat's off to you in, you know, keep going and building a successful real estate business along the way. I mean, gosh, talk about overachievers, you guys. You make me look, you know, like a total piker. So
well,
yeah,
I do most of the work, and I just kind of drag David along. So
yeah, you just shove money in his pocket for him
right.
and pull him across the finish
David, go do this.
Sure.
Well, Bill, this has been awesome. I really appreciate it. We will take you up on having more conversations.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it, fellas.
Right.
Yeah, I
Sounds
appreciate it so much.
All right.
Hey,
Well,
Bill, thank you very much for your time. You're awesome, and keep being that man of influence, man. People are listening. When you speak, people listen.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And most importantly, guys, go share this, tell people about our podcast, and most importantly, go fill your storehouse.
Yeah, and before you make it a great day, go to the website, get the new swag, check it out.
Wow. Blue or green? I'm not sure which color I like better.
We have red, we have gray, we have black. We got all kinds of colors. Go check it out.
I like red too. Red is cool. I need a tan for red though. I'm a little too.
One's coming your way, Bill.
Oh man, you guys are too good. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Signing off.
Yes,
Make it
sir.
a great
All
day,
right,
guys.
be well.
See ya.